Have you heard about Kris Jenner's recent facelift? It kind of went viral, and allegedly it cost somewhere around $135,000. I mean, listen, she's in her 70s and she looks 35, so the price tag makes sense. But when it comes to today's beauty standards, what actually is necessary and what's not? So today I'm going to share 3 crucial questions to ask yourself so you can approach this part of life and budgeting with wisdom. All right, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. All right, so in addition to the Kris Jenner news, I also saw this Instagram reel breakdown of the annual cost of being a woman. Everything from doing our hair, our nails, serums, facials, like all of it. So let's take a look together and then we'll see kind of what we all think about this.
I calculated how much it costs to fit the beauty standard in America, and the number is actually disgusting. Let's start with nails. If you get your nails done at about $75 a set at the recommended 2 to 3 weeks time frame, you're spending about $1,275 a year. The average cost of a full body wax is $200, and if you get it at the recommended 4 to 8 week time period, you're spending about $2,000 a year on waxing. A cut and a bleach at a $300 average puts you at about $2,400 a year just for doing your hair. If you get your lashes and a facial done at the recommended intervals, it's about $1,300 a year, and for the facials at 4 to 6 weeks, 10 times a year, $800 or $900. Now, the average American woman already spends about $300 a year on makeup, $550 a year on clothing, with $161 of this being workout clothing, $650 a year on jewelry and watches, $200 a year on shoes, and $900 a year on bath and shower products, which feels reasonable to me. If you factor in suggested tipping, this puts you at about $13,000 a year. That's half the poverty line for a family of 4. The average American woman makes $65,000 a year, and this is about 20% of that income.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I mean, it's real though, right? Like there's this idea of, it's not even like wanting just to keep up, but the older you get, you're like, all right, what are we going to do about all of this? And the thing is, it is costing us. And so we want to be wise when it comes to the beauty standards and what we ourselves want to do, right? But also we don't want to be out of control, but we want to be realistic. And so there are really 3 questions I want you to keep in mind when it comes to really the comparison trap of the beauty standard spending. Okay. First and foremost, what's your motivation? What's my motivation, right? So have the idea of, okay, why am I doing this? And what is it I want to do, and why am I doing it? And so I think really getting down underneath the surface can really start to, if you start to answer those honestly, it's very helpful, because then you can kind of start to sift through like, okay, what is it? Because for me, let's be honest, I started getting grays, y'all, when I was like 33. I don't know what that means. I don't feel like I live a stressful life, but maybe it's all subconscious and I'm very stressed. I don't know. But and some people pull off the gray hair early and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, but I'm not doing that. So like I will get my hair done every 8 weeks. And by the time those 8 weeks marks, I've been spraying it with that L'Oreal Hidden. Have you seen that like dye stuff you spray in? I do that because the grays are coming back sooner and sooner and sooner. But that's my thing. I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably not going to stop doing that. I do my nails. Like there are things that I do for sure. But I think as we start really looking at all of it together, there is a part of taking control of your money where you have autonomy to spend it on ways that fill up your cup, make you feel confident. And that's great, right? So like, it's not that spending money is bad by any means on yourself. But when it starts to creep into who you are, your identity, and if you didn't have it, like where does that go? All of it, that can be not a great scenario. So knowing your motivation, I think, is really key. But you should never sacrifice financial security because of physical insecurity. So making sure that you have the money, I think, is really, really key. Because you definitely don't want to go into debt or be stretched so thin because of like crazy beauty standards. That's silly. But when you have margin and you say, hey, this is what I want to spend it on because I like it and it's fun and whatever, it's not a big deal, that's fine. But again, we don't want to get caught up in this comparison cycle because that can be exhausting. All right, before I share the next two questions, I do want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Delete Me. If you don't remove your personal data from the internet, it's basically like it's on a billboard for everyone to see because your name, your address, your email, even your kids' names are out there on sketchy data broker websites. And those data brokers collect your data, sell it, and that puts you at risk for scams and fraud. But the good news is Delete Me removes your data and helps protect you from phishing, harassment, and other online threats. Winston and I use Delete Me, and it saves us so much time and worry. You guys, your family's safety and financial security are way too important to leave exposed. So sign up for Delete Me and take control. Go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, bringing your monthly cost to under $9, or just click the link in the description. The second question to ask yourself is, where is your true identity? Meaning, all of a sudden, if you could not afford to maintain anything superficial or self-image things, would you be okay? Like, are you okay with yourself enough on the inside that if the outside goes back all natural, how are you feeling about yourself? Like, this is a really good checkpoint. I talk about with money when I buy something, and I always say, okay, if nobody sees this purchase, do I still want it? I ask myself, like, why do I want this? Right? So, like, asking yourself some of these questions is great. And this is a great one when it comes to the beauty standards. Like, I don't know. If the extensions are gone, right? If the nails aren't done, if the gray hair is coming in, if I don't have fake eyelashes, but like if the real eyelashes are there, right? All the stuff that we do, if it's all gone, how are you feeling about yourself? Be honest. Like, it's a great litmus test because the moment all of that stuff starts to define what you believe about yourself, again, in my head, dangerous territory. Not worth it. Not worth it. I mean, just think about the Pilgrims, right? They all survived, right? Without all this stuff. Like, we're going to be okay. If it all went away, you'd be okay. But don't have your self-worth and your identity wrapped up on such an external appearance. But again, I am guilty of this too, right? We are all in this together, but it's a great reminder. And then number 3 are, what are the numbers? So looking at your monthly budget, if you have an EveryDollar budget, fantastic. It's my favorite budgeting app. But really add up your beauty and your self-care expenses and ask yourself, is that number worth it? What would I want that number to go to something else? Like, would I want that to go on maybe a trip? Or like, what could I take with all of that money and what else could I do with it? And would I rather be doing something else with it? Because sometimes these things can just become routine and we really don't stop and think about it. But adding it up and looking at your total income, I think is like really important. And listen, a little self-care every now and then, like getting coffee or having a streaming service or like whatever the things are, it adds up. And so you may actually look when you do all of your expenses throughout the month and throughout multiple months and see, here's what all this stuff is adding up to. Do I want this? Is this the life that I want? And it may be like, yes, maybe you're great with it and that's fine. But again, it's just another litmus test question is to look at the numbers. So a lot of this beauty stuff that we've been talking about, like it does deal with comparison culture. And so stopping the comparison cycle isn't the end of it. So to learn how to turn the comparison into a wealth building strategy, make sure to check out the next episode or click the link below if you're listening on podcast. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So according to a 2023 Harris poll for Bloomberg, around 45% of Americans ages 18 to 29 live with their parents. And here's a little fun fact. This percentage was actually about the same as it was in the 1940s. But the reason behind this decision obviously has changed. But today I want to share my thoughts on all sides of this conversation and kind of give you some signs that it might be time to take the next step if you are someone living at home with your parents. Now, before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. So first, here are a few reasons why people are making the decision to keep living with their parents. Some of it is really good motivation. People are like, well, I want to save money. I want to pay off debt. Things are just so expensive that I can, again, lower my cost of living by living with my parents and I can save and pay off debt, right? So there is a lot of good motivation to this. And I'm all for, to a degree, that idea of saying, hey, how can I cut my expenses? What can I do? But also, we want to make sure that you as a whole person are thriving in life. So while some of that motivation is good, it can have its downside. But people, again, have so many heated opinions on this. But this also can be very nuanced because there are times that it is you're in a dire situation, and your family is a gift in that are able to help you out. I've talked to people and, they've lost a spouse and they moved back in with their parents for a season. I was talking to a guy and he was a truck driver and he literally was home 2 weekends a month and that was it. And he was like, I just spend the night with my parents on those 2 nights. And I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense. I have another friend and her husband's in the military and he's going to be deployed for 9 months. And so she's going to go and live with her parents during that time for her mom to help with the kids and all of it, right? So there are nuanced situations that it does really make sense. And again, for a season, I think that this can be an okay decision for you to make. But for the long term, in most situations, it ends up not being great. I always think about that rom-com Failure to Launch with Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew McConaughey. And it's like, oh yeah, you can really see it. It can definitely slow down your personal growth and development in so many ways. And there's something to be said about when you get home and you're like, oh yeah, do I have milk and bread and the basics of life? Are the lights being paid, the bill? There's just things as an adult you have to think through. And when your parents are kind of that safety net to a degree for a long period of time, it's naturally going to stunt a level of your growth. Because I think when you have to go out and do new things, and it is a little scary, maybe you kind of are taking a risk, there's something in that builds character, it builds confidence. And so much of that confidence and taking care of yourself really is one of these keys of success in life and to your money. So here are 5 steps to take to get you ready to move out on your own. Number 1, set a move out date. So if your living situation just stays stagnant, you'll probably never see the end of it. Because having mom and dad take care of you and you may not have to really pay rent or anything. It does sound good, right? But again, it is good for you to be out on your own. So that deadline really keeps you accountable, and it's good communication for you and your parents as well. So have that date out there. And again, this could be 60 days, this could be 6 months, but have a date. Number 2, make sure you can budget for your 4 walls. So you may have to compromise in your life because your starter situation when you move out on your own probably isn't going to be perfect. It may not be ideal, but again, it's your first one, and that's okay. And so what you want to look at are those 4 walls again: food, shelter, utilities, and transportation, making sure that you can cover those 4 walls. Again, it may not be in an area that your parents live in. It may be in an area that you're like, golly, I got to drive an extra, 30 minutes, but this is what I can afford, but making sure those are covered. Now, if you've not checked out our EveryDollar app, this is a free budgeting app. And so open that up, get an account, start that, because this is going to help you take your income and really put it to its best use. Which brings me to number 3 is to have a consistent income. Yeah, you need a job to live out on your own. And so this may be you've put together a couple of side hustles and that works for you. Maybe you're freelancing. Maybe you got a 40-hour-a-week job. Whatever it is, having that consistent income is really, really key. Number 4 is to reevaluate. Again, if you're living at home to hit a certain financial goal, ask yourself if you're actually making progress. Because if you've kind of hit this plateau and maybe you've picked up some extra work, but you're using that extra money to go on vacation or hang out with friends or whatever it is, you're not really putting as much towards these goals than you think you would. Maybe reevaluate. And maybe you say, hey, I wanted to be here till I was debt-free, but maybe I move out sooner and I push that debt-free date out a couple of months. But it's worth it because I'm an adult and I'm 26 years old and I'm going to be out on my own. And number 5 is to think big picture. Again, like I said, failure to launch is very real, and you don't know what you don't know until you try. And moving out, you may face, some difficulties at times, but this builds such confidence because you have to problem solve on your own. And long term, this is so good for you. Now, again, I know this topic is very nuanced because neither opinion of you should never move back home or always move back home, neither is inherently wrong. But again, over time, who is it turning you into? And I think that's what's really key, because you have to know that the decisions you're making in your life and your lifestyle are determining who you are as a person. And I just have this belief that when you're out on your own, eventually it just builds something in you that is so, so good. And again, like I said earlier, if you need help when it comes to budgeting, make sure to check out EveryDollar. And for a step-by-step rundown on how to use it, make sure to check out my episode on the right way to do a monthly budget. So make sure to share this episode with a friend who might be in this situation, might need a little, pushing out of the nest. Some good motivation. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Anytime something becomes normalized, people start questioning it less and less. And one thing in the financial world that is so normal is credit cards. But there are some crucial things that you need to know about how this industry works. So make sure to subscribe, like, and share this episode with a friend. So first and foremost, credit cards are not a helpful spending tool for consumers. They're a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yes, credit cards are a form of debt. You borrow money, you pay it back later. And if you don't pay the full thing, you're paying interest on top of that. And so it's just really a way for people to either play a game, trying to get points and airline miles and all this stuff over here, or they're like literally using it because they have to make ends meet and they end up living beyond their means. And the credit card industry is there to catch their slack versus their own money. So it's really this detrimental part of the financial industry that everyone is like, oh, it's great, it's fine. But I'm telling you, living an autonomous life, like where you have a say over every part of your life and you're not borrowing money from the bank, not only do you spend less, but there's so much peace in your life when it's just you dealing with your money. So listen, we have established that, yes, credit card companies, they exist to make money and they're very, very good at it. So let's talk about how they do this. So like I said, the first way is interest payments. I mentioned that earlier, but if you pay your bill off every month, you may not be feeling this pain. But what we're seeing more and more is people are not paying their credit cards off every month and they are accumulating more and more debt. And so what happens is you end up paying interest, like basically a fee on top of what you already owe. And that interest with credit cards can be as high as 18, 22, sometimes 25%. We're seeing like it's insane the amount of interest that credit card companies are charging. And so there's actually some legislation going on to lower that, which would be great, just to protect some consumers. But man, it is a real thing and they make so much money off of interest payments. Now, another way that credit card companies make money is through annual fees. So the biggest pushback that I get about credit cards is, yeah, but Rachel, the points and the airline miles, like I get all these perks. And so, yeah, these perks may feel like free in the moment, but the truth is you're just paying for those perks at a different time because of what you're paying over what you would if you weren't using a credit card and plus all the annual fees. So they can run anywhere from $50 to $500, $600. So again, yeah, it feels like some great perks to sit at a great lounge at the airport, but you're spending that much money a year to do that. Now, if you don't remove your personal data from the internet, it's basically like a billboard for your information because your name, your address, your email, and even your kids' names are out there on sketchy data broker websites. So data brokers, they collect your data, they sell it, and they put you at risk for scams and fraud. Delete Me removes your data to help protect you from phishing, harassment, and other online threats. Winston and I, we use Delete Me, and it saves us so much time and so much worry. So you guys, your family safety is huge, and financial security is way too important to leave it exposed. So sign up for Delete Me and take control. Go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, bringing your monthly cost to under $9 a month. It's incredible. So make sure to click the link in the description to check it out. All right, the third way credit card companies make money is swipe fees. So every time you use a credit card, whoever you're buying from has to pay a processing fee. So businesses increase their prices then to cover that cost. And if you've ever gotten a discount on a big purchase because you're paying with cash, swipe fees are what sellers are trying to avoid. So as they're swiping through, they are paying money, that retailer is. So credit card companies make money when you swipe your credit card. The fourth way that they make money is late fees. So if you are late, they will charge you some more fees. And credit card companies have the right to charge late fees anytime, even if your first late payment, was barely past the deadline, like there's no room for human error on this, they will charge you. And sometimes if you have like some deal with debt where it's like no interest, all this, and the fine print, it's like if you're late, you get back charged all of that too. So they find ways to make a lot of money. Now, the fifth way credit card companies make money is with other corporations. When you think about airlines and credit card companies, they're not just like best friends, they just like want to hang out together. No, they're doing it because they have that relationship because they are making so much money off of consumers. Yes, they are business partners, and airlines actually sell miles to credit card companies, and the credit card companies pay for them with your money from all the fees we just talked about, and they're in cahoots together. So again, this is all of your money, you guys, that's just kind of going to this industry of debts. And again, if you look at bank buildings, even in your city, they're huge and they're nice and they're wonderful because they make billions of dollars. So just avoiding that whole industry in general, not only financially, it's going to give you peace of mind, but man, it's going to give you your paycheck back to then actually use that money to make money for you. Like use money to save and invest over here to make you money, not to make the credit card and the bank's money. So when it comes to getting out of debt, it is so, so key that you really focus on becoming debt-free because your income is freed up. But the truth is this video just scratches the surface when it comes to how the industry preys on desperate consumers. So if you want to learn more about this, make sure to check out this episode on the true price of living with debt right here. Or if you're listening on podcast, click the link below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. One thing I teach that gets tons of criticism is when I tell married couples to combine their finances. So today I want to share more about how you manage and even maximize your dual income in 5 simple steps. And be sure to like, subscribe, share the episode with a friend, all the things. All right, let's start with the controversial one. Step 1, share a bank account with your spouse. Listen, man, we could talk all episode about this, but honestly, there is something about combining your money and saying, yes, we are one. When we get married, we are not 2 teams running on 2 different paths. Like we are sharing a life together. If you can share a bed, if you can share genetics with little children running around, you can share your money. And so from a tactical standpoint, it's very easy when you share a bank account to know like what's going on in life. Cause it's like, oh, I paid soccer dues. The soccer schedule's coming up. Let's put that on the calendar. Like you're just on the same wavelength with your spouse, knowing like what is happening in life. But then from a more trusting standpoint, it's just showing like we're all in. We are all in. Now, if you are in a marriage and there is addiction that's not being addressed, if there is, infidelity, loss of trust, possible divorce, like anything like that, abuse, like if you are in a dangerous situation or a situation that you can't trust your spouse, then yes, have separate accounts. But if you are not in that, working together, I'm telling you, when you just go all in and say, yeah, we're doing this together, you're going to see more progress. Number 2 is intentionally budget with both incomes. So if you earn 2 incomes and you see both those incomes coming into the household as one income, you're going to get to do a lot of things. Like that's one of the pros about getting married. You got 2 incomes coming in. So budget them. Be intentional with where the money's going. Sit down and say, hey, every single month, here's what we're going to prioritize. Every single month, here's what we're spending on groceries and going out to eat and entertainment and for the kids and everything in life. Here is where our money's going. And Winston and I, we love Every Dollar. It's the budgeting app that we have. It makes it really easy. I can put a link down below if you want to check it out. But sitting down together and getting on the same page of where your income's going is so key. Number 3, I would tell you to know each other's money tendencies. We all have natural tendencies when it comes to money. For example, I am a spender. Winston is a saver. I like more quantity of things. He likes quality things. I like to spend money on experiences. He likes to spend money on things, actual tactical items in life. I mean, you could go through, I'm abundance, he's scarcity. Like we have different tendencies and opposites attract. So your spouse may have different tendencies and that's great. But understand those because again, in a really healthy way, both of these bring strengths to the table. So lean on each other in that. I talk about these money tendencies in my book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money. So I'll put that down below too, because it's just a great resource as you kind of like walk through some of this stuff. Because again, having different tendencies is not a bad thing. In fact, together, it kind of makes you this power couple of going at the world together. And that's what I love. Now, another thing that you should know and be on the same page with your spouse is internet safety. And this is why we love Delete Me in our house. Delete Me is an incredible service that goes in and removes your online information. Because we do so much online, from social media and online shopping and streaming services, paying bills, like all of it, we are putting our information out into the internet all the time. You can get an individual Delete Me plan that comes out to be around $9 a month if you sign up today at joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, or I'll put a link down in the description. All right, number 4 is have a routine when changes occur. So changes are going to happen in your life. This could be everything from, changing jobs, losing an income, you get a raise. Maybe you have a kid. Maybe you live in a different state than where you did, and taxes look different. Like, when there are things that happen in life, be intentional together. Set a plan, know what to do if you get extra margin, or how to cut expenses when money is tight. And so together prioritize and say, yeah, if we get some extra money, or our lifestyle is going up because our income is going up, like, let's make sure we're doing that intentionally. Or if something happens, if there's like a health crisis or a job loss, like, what are we going to be able to cut? So having that plan and being able together to work that change is really important. And then number 5, I would tell you to invest consistently, but separately. So because you're earning 2 salaries, both of you can have separate retirement accounts. Both of you, maybe your work offers a 401k. Both need to contribute to that. You both can open up a Roth IRA. And so being able to say, okay, as a household, we're going to invest 15% of our income into retirement, but have your individual retirement plans. So that way your money basically is growing in 2 different ways, which is awesome. Now, investing can be tricky. So if you want some information about that, check out my episode right here on how to invest the right way in 2025, or click the link in the description. All right, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. One thing that I teach is always to live on less than you make. And one thing that I've learned over the years is that this mindset carries into other parts of our life too. So today I'm going to talk about 6 minimalist habits that can improve your life and your money. And be sure to drop some of your favorite minimalism tips down below, because I always love hearing from you guys. Now make sure to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. All right, tip number 1, not really money related, but it's very helpful. And that is to simplify your schedule. We live in a world, you guys, where we are like back to back on our calendars, right? I mean, it's just like everything always. There's so much going on, so many commitments. And I feel like as life goes on and different seasons of life change, right? Maybe you get married, maybe you start having kids. Like, it just feels like life gets fuller and fuller. And we feel this need to continue to rush around and be busy. And what ends up happening is, I think it really does not just affect our money, because it can, us spending money on all this stuff, but also it just affects our peace of mind. Because when you are in a constant state of rush and hurry, it's not healthy for you. It's not good for you. There's a great book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. But he talks about this all the time, about how we've come as a society and a culture to almost celebrate busyness. But it is not good for us, you guys. It is not good. So being able to look and say, hey, we're going to choose intentionally to schedule my life in such a way that I have margin, just like we talk about having margin with your money, that actually gives you this level of peace, because you have control back and actually time to yourself, or time to do the things that you really want to do. We had to do this with our kids. We got to this point that we're like, oh my gosh, there's just too many things. So it was even simple decisions like, okay, everyone gets to choose one thing per semester, one thing, and that's it. Instead of trying to do 2 or 3 different things per kid. I mean, it just gets out of control. So being able to have margin in your time is going to give you peace. Number 2 is to spend money on experiences over possessions. So what I mean by this is this idea of when you experience something with the people that you love, Arthur Brooks talks about this, it actually implements joy into your life. And so when you say, okay, we're going to actually spend more of our time and our money on experiences and enjoying life, it is going to bring you more joy. Now, this is no excuse to be like, hey, great, let's go book a Disney cruise for 2 weeks, regardless of our money, right? No, we still have to have money for these experiences. We want to be sure that we absolutely, budget for them. All that is still very, very important. But there is something to be said when you sit there and just buy a bunch of stuff. I'm saying this to myself, just PS. And you just buy stuff and buy stuff and buy stuff, and buy stuff, and it just kind of keeps just piling on. There's something there that does not bring joy, you guys. Stuff will not bring you joy. It's okay to have some stuff, but actually start navigating and prioritizing experiences over stuff. And that will help with the minimalism in your life, because you won't have as much material things, but you're going to have great experiences with people you love. Tip number 3 is to live on less than you make. So we talked about this earlier, but this is so, so key. When you do a budget, you guys, you want to have margin. You want to get to this point that you get at the bottom and say, okay, here's my income. Here's everything that I spend money on. And you don't want to be in the red, right? You don't want to spend more than what your income you have coming in is. So you want to be able to say, no, I want to be in the black, meaning I have extra money left over, and with that money, be intentional with it. But that is a peaceful place to be. So you can do things like cut out, going out to eat, an expensive coffee. You can, there's subscriptions and memberships you're not using. You can do things and cut things out to give yourself that margin, because when there's less of this idea of stress with your budget and there's actually a level of peace when you say, yeah, we don't have so much that we're spending money on, we're cutting things out. Again, a level of minimalism, but when it comes to your money, will give you so much peace of mind. All right, before I share the rest of my tips, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministries. Just about everything costs more these days. CHM is not health insurance. It's a biblically based health cost sharing ministry that's helped hundreds of thousands of families like yours with healthcare costs without sacrificing freedom. You can join CHM at any time, like now. So learn more at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. All right, tip number 4 for some minimalism is to declutter the spaces that you're in. So my friend Dawn, who you may know her as Minimal Mom, has talked about, not using rugs in her home anymore because it's one less thing that you have to keep clean. And so you can look at things, get creative when you look around, places in your kitchen or in your bathroom or your closet where you're like, hey, what are things that I can actually remove and not only create more space and more margin with the physical space around me, but also that, I don't have to keep up this idea of like brain calories of having to choose or think through things, right? So like hers, as an example, the rug, it's like, okay, that's one less thing I have to think about. Like, that's great, right? For me, when I go through my closet and being able to like take things out and like donate or give things away, and I go and I'm like, okay, here's the things in my closet that I actually wear, that I actually like. It's less brain calories to go in and feel like I have to like sort through a bunch of stuff that I don't even like or wear anymore, right? So you're minimalizing not just the space that you're in, but the brain calories it takes to make decisions within those spaces. Tip number 5 is to cut out toxic relationships. So this is an interesting one because community and friendships, they are such a gift. But sometimes we have relationships in our life that can be very draining, and there may be a time and a place to set boundaries, right? This is going to look different depending on the relationship. But sometimes you end up in, a friendship with someone over time that maybe you weren't even that great of friends, but yet like they are just like taking so much out of you, or there's like this codependence or like just some weird elements. And as an adult, you're okay to set some boundaries and say, hey, I may not have the time and the energy to upkeep this relationship. Now, obviously, the longer the relationship, or if it's family, like there's definitely more elements to this point. But if you do have a toxic relationship in your life, setting a boundary is going to give you some peace. Tip number 6 is do a no spend challenge once a year. So I love this because you could take a month and say, hey, we're not going to buy anything that we don't need, right? We're going to cover our food, shelter, utilities, transportation, all that's really important. But all this extra stuff that we end up buying, we're going to cut it out. Or maybe you take a month and you say, we're going to eat at home every January. So in January, we're not going out to eat. We're just eating at home. Or maybe you say, I'm not going to buy shoes for 6 months. You like find something where you can do a no spend challenge. And maybe it's a category or a specific time frame. But when you do this, it's amazing to know that not only do you have the discipline for it, but then you also realize how much money you end up spending on stuff that you don't need. And usually that stuff ends up taking up space in your life. And so there's something about this that's so powerful. I did this with my kids last summer because they were just like to this point where, they work and they'll, make some money here and there around the house. But it was like, can we go to Target? Can we go to Target? Can we go to the toy store? Can I get on Amazon? And they just wanted to spend all their money constantly. And it was so exhausting. So we finally were like, okay, this summer, you can't spend any money. Kids, you're done. You're done. And it's amazing what ends up happening when it's not even an option to go and buy something. You get creative. You see what you have. You play with what you have. And I think that's true as adults. Like if we told ourselves, no, we're not spending money, you got to get creative and realize you're going to be okay. Like you can do this. So needs versus wants is a big conversation here. But all the stuff in the want category, it's powerful to say, yeah, I'm going to choose not to spend money on that, and to know that you can do this and you will survive it and you'll save time and money by doing it too, which is great. Now, a great tool when you're doing these kind of challenges is when you are looking at your budget, and we talked about earlier, even cutting out some expenses to live on less than you make. Having a budget to help guide some of this is so key. And that's why I love EveryDollar. EveryDollar is an incredible budget. It's an app on your phone. And it really does help you stay organized. It helps you stay accountable, and it allows you to visually see the plan that you have for your money. So make sure to check that out. I'll leave the link down below, but check out EveryDollar, create a budget, and start living when you are organized with your money, because it is again, peaceful way to live. For more minimalism tips, make sure to check out my episode, Life-Changing Lessons I've Learned from Minimalists. You can click here, or if you're listening on podcast, I will leave a link down below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So what if I told you it only takes me 5 minutes to budget every month? Now, that might sound too good to be true, but actually it is true. Now, obviously, a few other things have to be true as well. I still look at my EveryDollar budget every single day. And yes, I make changes to my budget throughout the month. Yes, Winston, my husband, and I, we are on the same page when it comes to our spending. We're checking in a lot. But also, it does only take about 5 minutes. Now, we've been doing it for about 15 years since we've been married. But again, the idea is that when you create a habit, something even like budgeting, it just becomes a part of your rhythm and you get better at it. So I know some of you guys are in the trenches right now when it comes to budgeting. Like, you're like, oh my God, this is so hard. And maybe you've been working towards a really big financial goal for a while, or maybe you're stuck on a certain baby step. But whatever it looks like for you, it's always helpful to reevaluate your process every now and then. So today I want to share 3 ways you can simplify your budget. So first, let me explain where this all started for me. I saw my friend Dawn, who is Minimum Mom. You guys may know her channel or listen to her. But she was giving her take on a recent home organization trend called house hushing, which is very interesting. And this was kind of really founded by The Nester, who I've had on the show as well, which is so great. But if you're not familiar with this, house hushing is where you take everything out of a room in your house, except for just like the large furniture and rugs, curtains, that kind of thing. But you take everything out. And the idea is you start with a clean slate, only to bring back in items that truly spark joy, if you know what I mean, and that you only are really going to use regularly in that space. And sometimes the clutter in your house can just feel like noise in a way. Like it's just so noisy when you walk in. So that's where the hushing comes in. It's kind of like we're cleaning it. It's just a quiet room now with less clutter. So I thought, well, that could be really true with your budget too. I mean, like your living room or your kitchen, your budget is something that you're used to seeing every single day. And so it's easy to become blind a little bit to the chaos or the clutter of your budget. So here's how I recommend doing a little budget hushing if you're due for a financial reset. Step 1, eliminate every category of your budget except for your 4 walls. So 4 walls are food, shelter, utilities, transportation. So again, these things could include that you take out like subscriptions. And look, we are all human, and sometimes we forget about subscription fees until they finally start adding up. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so it may be worth it to wipe the slate clean and then figure out, hey, which ones do we actually use? Also, cable. I know this for the cruises. We pay you guys like $200 a month. And listen, and I need to do this. I've been saying this for like a year now. We need to cut it. We don't use it. Like, we don't use it. And I don't know why I have this like need to be like, oh my gosh, but the Real Housewives like are on my DVR. And I know I can watch some other places, but there's just something about when you're in the rhythm and this is what you know, it's hard to change. And for me, it's cable, which I know is so stupid. But I'm like, if I just cut it out of the budget and out of my life, I'm probably not going to miss it, but I need to do that. So I'm saying that for me. Also, things like the YMCA or any other activity-related memberships. So Caroline, our middle, she plays soccer 3 months out of the year. And Winston used to go work out at the Y, but now we like kind of put some stuff in our garage. So that's where we work out. So we don't use that membership for the 9 other months. And guess what? We get charged because we don't cancel it after soccer season. So again, that's a little bit of that clutter that's in there. Also, Amazon spending. So this continues to be one of these places that, man, you can just spend so much. And the majority of what I buy on Amazon, I probably could technically live without. And so there's a little bit of that cleansing that could go on of like taking away the instant gratification purchases. And if you actually needed something, actually going to the store to buy it. And again, it's just to help reevaluate what's going on. All right, step 2 is adjust your savings category and see how much progress that you can make while you're budget hushing. So with all the clutter and the noise gone from your monthly expenses, you may have some extra cash to throw towards savings or investing for a bit. And once you start making progress in these bigger, more important financial areas, you suddenly stop missing all those random subscriptions that you never really use. So again, there's something powerful about seeing that extra margin. And for those of you that may have debt, maybe you throw it towards that. But there's something about seeing your savings pile up a little bit that just kind of gets you motivated. All right, step 3, do all of this on paper. So what I mean by that is you visually want to see your numbers out in front of you. So don't try to keep all those details in your head, because again, you're not going to budget well when you do that. And mapping out everything is such a game changer. And if you need a way to do this easily, you don't have to go back and actually use paper like we did back in the day. You can actually just use a great app. And EveryDollar is my favorite budgeting app out there. It really is. It simplifies everything. You can actually have it attached to your bank account. And so all of your transactions come in, you drag and drop them, keep up with your budget in the present, and it is fantastic. So you can go to everydollar.com/Rachel, create your first budget for free, and do that, you guys, because this is so huge. So once you reach the stage, take as long as you need. I recommend about a month, and then slowly start incorporating your high priority expenses back in. And the beauty of this budget hushing is that it's going to be unique to your situation, and you have the power to eliminate whatever spending you want. You can add things back in. It is up to you. Your budget is never meant just to be fixed, permanent, hard and fast. It is going to be evolving month to month, even throughout the month itself. And again, this all comes back to intentionality and simplicity, you guys. So listen, if you want to hear from me and Dawn chat about other ways to simplify your life and your home, be sure to check out our episode on the top 10 money wasters in our houses. And that is with Minimum Mom. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.